Hi, my name is Cass Turnbull. I'm with Plant Amnesty. I'm going to talk about pruning Choisya, which is also called Mexican orange. It's in the mounding habit category. Even though it doesn't have small leaves, it has soft, supple wood. It's not like a rhododendron or a tree. And that means you can really prune it heavily. You don't have to worry about water sprouts, and you can try and keep it short within reason. It also has a vine, a clematis vine inside of it, which it's beautiful when it blooms inside of it, but the whole thing is getting way too big, starting to crowd the path. And I'm going to show you the second way you can prune a clematis, which is almost to the ground, very scary. And I'm also going to show you how to gently shorten your Mexican orange and how to radically renovate it, which is what this one needs. So if I wanted to make this shorter, let's see, and get it out of the pathway, I locate the part that's getting to be the worst, as always, and I follow it down inside to a side branch, or sometimes bluntly. And you can make this great big cut. And then this is a kind of a dead looking thing, and I'm going to cut that, and I'm going to cut that, and here's where we run into trouble. And I'm starting to run out of green, but this will break bud and green back up pretty easily. So I might make a heading cut here, which is to say an ugly stub cut, and that will force it to bush out here next year if it sees daylight. So size reduction, but you'll notice I'm running out of green. And you'll notice I'm running into a vine, which at this point I'm just going to cut and get it out of this plant now when it's not beautiful. I'm going to clean out all the dead crud. You can see a whole bunch of the branches, the stems of this beautiful clematis. Looks really horrible, especially in the winter. And I'm going to keep some of those and tie them in, but I'm going to take off all the rest that's covering this plant, let it regrow for a number of years, and be beautiful, and then whack it all back again. Let's see, anything else? On this Choisya, you can see that this is the tallest part up here. You can make a big cut with a lopper, or I can do it with my hand pruner. Always looking for the tallest one once. Sometimes you just cut to a set of flowers or a set of leaves. Now this part's the tallest. And that way you can work it down slowly in size. As long as you have something green to cut back to, you're okay. As long as it's covered up in green. We're running out of green here, which is why we have to do a radical renovation. Let me show you what that looks like. It's very scary. So I don't want to have to keep fighting this every year. I want to get it way shorter and let it have a few years to grow. So I'm looking for a really big, ugly cut. I think I'm gonna, and I do get a pit in my stomach. You always do. I'm gonna cut the clematis strands first so that I don't tear them. Cut it free of the shrub. Oh, that's good for that part. I'm gonna have to do it on the other side. Stay there. Following it carefully down to where it begins, where it arises, and cutting it so there will be clematis left to grow next year. Okay. Okay. Scary stuff, this. Moving it out slowly. If I have to, I'll cut out the vine as opposed to rip it out till I can find out what's going on. Boy, look, there's a little camellia in here somewhere. It's got all covered up. Now I'm going to do a low branch. Trying not to break the clematis vine, so I'm going to cut it out as opposed to pull it out. I'm going to plot my next move. I'm going to get this clematis out of this tall part, and I'm going to cut it back. I'm going to clean up some of my stubs because they make me look like an evil person, like I don't know how to prune. Next, I'm moving over to this side. I see this branch is crowding my camellia. This is the camellia right here. This is the plant that's growing into it. Here are the stems of my vine. Taking my time, figuring out where everything goes and comes from. Wow. This actually was planted to come out from the camellia. Interesting. But I don't want all this stuff up here, clearly. I'm going to cut it out. Now I'm going to clobber the other side. The difference between butchery and radical renovation is what my neighbor did is butchery. What I'm doing is a radical renovation. Haha, it's just a little joke. Take this way back and out. Back and out. Really crowding the path on this side. It even, so I'm going to round it down to the edge. And of course I've okayed this with the customer, you know, or your spouse. You don't want to just go out and do this without getting the okay and explaining to them the plan, which is that in the course of a year, this will grow back and reach up and be totally foliated. You won't see any of these horrible cuts. It's not okay on everything. It's just okay on some plants. You can find this information out in the Plant Amnesty's book by Cass Turnbull called Cass Turnbull's Guide to Pruning. Ha. Easy to remember. Okay. Sometimes I use my breastbone if it's a big cut to brace the pruner, the lopper. I get some pretty interesting bruises. People look at my husband askance. Sometimes I make ugly heading cuts because I want it to bush out and get thick. When you do a radical renovation, you can take off every stick of green and you're still doing okay because you know what you're doing. So this is a radically renovated Choisya. I could have actually gone clear to 2 feet above the ground if I'd so wanted. I've never killed one that way. It's not the perfect time of year. We would generally do this in the early spring, and I took all the clematis out of it and cut it to about a 2-foot framework that doesn't look very good, but we have to leave that 2 feet, strap it back on, and next year this will all flush out. It'll look great, and then the clematis will bloom when it blooms and things will be restored to the way they should be. I'm Cass Turnbull. I work for Plant Amnesty. This is just one of many videos on pruning that you can find through the Plant Amnesty YouTube channel. We also have longer videos on pruning and landscaping, a book, we have pruning topics. In fact, we have a website, plantamnesty.org.